Welcome to the Canopy Mortgage Podcast. I'm your host, McKay Shoell. Joining us today
Hello, McKay.
is Mr. Jeff Reeves. I'm actually stoked to be able to spend some time with Jeff. Little background, I've known Jeff almost 20 years now, and he is the founder of Canopy Mortgage, and he's also the president and runs all things Nano, which we'll talk a little more about that later. But Jeff, before we get into our main topics today, I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite thing to do, non-mortgage related? If someone wanted to know what's Jeff Reeves' hobbies, what does he like to do in his free time?
One of my favorite things to do is to ski in deep powder. And in Utah, we have lots of it. Within an hour of my house are 7 ski resorts. So I love when it gets cold. I like bad weather. Yeah.
Sweet. And then for our listeners, tell me, how on earth does Jeff Reeves get involved in the mortgage industry?
Well, it's funny because when I bought my first home when I was 24 in 1996, I told my wife and myself, I hate those people, talking about mortgage people, and I will never get into the mortgage business. And 2 months later, somebody convinced me, and this guy actually now works with us at Canopy. He convinced me that I could make $45,000 a year doing mortgages. So I ran home, told my wife, let's go do mortgages. We can make $45,000 a year doing mortgages.
Hey, but at the time, that was a lot of money, right?
Oh yeah,
45
big time.
was good.
Yeah, big time. And so I thought I was going to do it for a couple of years, and then go back to school and get a master's degree. And I learned quickly in about 2 weeks that I love this business and never left. And now I'm a one-trick pony. That's all I do. And I'm happy doing it. It's great.
Love it. So I would say, as far as any mortgage knowledge that I've ever received, as I was being trained, how I learned more than anything else, and it's actually a really funny thought. Like, I can vividly remember this. 507 South Orem Boulevard.
You bet, baby.
Advantage Lending at the time was a mortgage brokerage, and Jeff Reeves had his old flip phone, and it had a wire going up into one ear. And I would go in to ask a question, and oftentimes I would forget the question I was asking because I would just listen to him talk to borrowers, and he ultimately trained me just through going in and listening. And so I don't say this to exaggerate. He's truly has one of the most brilliant loan minds of anyone I've ever met. I would put him up against anyone in the industry, but he's done something unique in that he's taken all of that knowledge and applied it to building out an LOS. And today we're going to talk all things technology. Hopefully we can spend a little time on AI. Yeah. But Jeff, I want to ask the question for you. So you've built your own proprietary LOS, and you've been the chief architect behind that. Why on earth did you set out to build an LOS?
First of all, I never set out to do that. And we kind of fell into it by luck. McKay and I started a consumer direct called Box Home Loans in 2006. McKay was our first loan officer. At the time, we had sold him from the local credit union or bank, and I told McKay at the time, I have a vision of a loan officer being able to do 50 loans a month. And remember what you told me or what you thought?
Oh, I didn't say it because I don't have I can say it now what I thought. I thought this guy's absolutely crazy. There's no way. I would just be happy if we could get to 10 loans a month.
So I just had a sense that if we did two things, if we limited whom we served, so we created this concept where we only lent to people who fit inside a certain box, perfect clients, 700 FICO, owner occupied deals, and we thought if all we did was what was then called the conforming CISA, that we could afford to operate on no margin because we had the same loan over and over again. So I thought if we limit variables and if we start adding tech, I didn't really know what that meant other than it started with a pricing engine. It allowed our customer to get a real quote online back in 2007. That was pretty cool. Not just rates and points, but all third-party fees and such. And we built a way for customers, as you may recall, to lock the rate online.
Okay, but time out. That pricing engine.
Yeah.
What did it really consist of in the very early days?
Oh, it was spreadsheets. It was McKay. We had a guru in the office who was good with spreadsheets, and he built a spreadsheet. So McKay had all these formulas you would run,
Yep.
and that quickly it became evident as it kept breaking that we needed to do something real. So we hired some contractors to build us this publicly available pricing engine that allowed us to quote real quotes. And then within a year, people could lock those rates online. And so, in fact, Aaron, who's my co-founder, at one point when we were looking to hire a programmer to build that engine for us, he told that guy, "We want you to build a processing system." And I said, no, we're never going to build an LOS. So we started growing rapidly with our concept because the mortgage crash happened, and our little pricing engine made us highly referable amongst neighbors. And so we grew from like 8 million a month within about 2 months to 40 million a month. 6 months later, 100 million a month. And the one thing we built the whole company off of, a loan product, the conforming CISA, goes away with Dodd-Frank. And so I turned to Aaron and said, if we don't keep automating, we're never going to survive on these margins. And so we just started building stuff, never with the goal to build an LOS, but it was always about how do we solve for the cost to produce? How do we do more loans with less people? And after about 4 years of doing this, we realized, you know what, we kind of have an LOS. Let's just use that instead of the 3 systems we were using for our point of sale. And there wasn't even a point of sale market at that point. We just sort of intuitively built something that had an LOS, a point of sale, a pricing engine, compliance, all driven by one code base and one database. And that's part of the secret sauce of Nano. Because I'm not trying to cobble together 5 different things to do what's most important to our process.
The way, I don't want to say you fell into it, because that kind of cheapens the overall what it is today, but it's actually crazy how far ahead of the times you were even 12 years ago, if you look at 12, 15 years ago. And so my question for you is, like, we have all these buzzwords about AI, which AI is cool. Don't take this question the wrong way, but help me understand, what has Nano done that's already ahead of AI as far as some of it that it offers? Because you have people like, whoa, AI is so amazing. We can do this now. And I kind of laugh when I hear that within our industry, because I'm like, well, we've been doing that for like the last 8 years. Like, welcome to 2025.
Yeah. So, look, I am a believer. AI is going to fundamentally change the world. It's going to change how we do mortgages. And yet I also know we have a long way to go. And I'm often surprised how amazing AI is, and then sometimes how stupid AI is. I have GPT or Gemini do stuff for me. I'm like, this is unbelievable. And then I ask something to do very, very simple, and it's like, you can't do that? What's your problem, right? So AI, though, is going to continue to just grow, and it's going to grow by orders of magnitude. And I'm also a firm believer in, like, people don't have the systems and the LOS to be able to really, truly handle what AI can do for them. They give stuff to AI, it computes data and analyzes stuff, and then humans go and redo what AI just did. We see that happen all the time. Because if you don't have a unified system of this is how we manufacture this loan, and if that AI doesn't inherently interact with that data that's in your system of record in careful ways, then people will just invalidate the data, they'll redo it, etc. To answer your question more specifically about what does Nano do that AI is now doing, what have we done for a long time? Here's a small example. I was looking at some, AI vendors to perform a couple of things for us in Nano a while back. And they were so excited to tell me about this feature where they could analyze the credit report and compare it to the loan application and make sure everything matched. I was like, and I get the problem. We import liabilities from a credit report, and I might have 17 debts on there. And the LO goes in, he's talking to a client, and he's changing the amount of the balance and the payment to see if the guy will qualify, if they do stuff to debts, and if they pay off this or that. And so the problem is liabilities suddenly start to drift from what they were when you got them from the source of truth.
Okay.
And so underwriters have to stare and compare and make sure everything matches, right? So they're offering AI for this. And I'm like, 8 years ago, we came up with this concept of verifications in Nano, which means every time that we consume data from a trusted source, like a credit bureau, we bring in liabilities and we record what they were at the time we got the data from the trusted source. So that now the humans can go do their job. Sometimes you need to mark your debt as paid off. Sometimes you need to change the payment or the balance or whatever. That's fine. When you mess with that data, it becomes unverified. And so now in Nano, if I'm an underwriter, I go into Nano and I can see my list of liabilities. I can see 17 things, and I have a visual representation of what has been verified and what hasn't been. What has been messed with. It's kind of like blockchain in a sense, where there's just like immutable record that nobody can screw with, and then we always know if something changed. So now I only have to, as an underwriter, go in and see, I only need to care about 2 of those 17 debts. The other 15 haven't changed from what they were with a credit report. We've applied that concept to incomes and assets and liability, properties, and it also allows us to kind of keep Nano open to multiple users. So like most systems lock down the whole system once it goes into processing or underwriting because they don't want the fulfillment team screwing with the data that's already been underwritten. I get that because the problem is if you let somebody in the system, you don't know what they've done, you have to redo the entire underwrite.
Yeah, you got to start back at square one.
And so in some major LOS where the LO wants to change something, client calls and says, I want to consider a new loan product. Okay, the underwriter then releases the file to the loan officer, and they go and do their one little thing, and they give it back. The underwriter doesn't really know what's changed. So they have to go redo everything. And Nano, because of verifications, they can hop back in and precisely know of the 145 things they looked at, these 12 things have changed. So back to what I was saying, I don't need AI to tell me if my liabilities are different than what they were when I got them from the credit report. And I think there are a lot of things we can do just kind of natively in our system that don't take AI. It's about being able to just record and track your data to make sure it's integrous from the very beginning throughout the whole process. When you have one system, not a point of sale and an LOS and a pricing engine and a fees engine and all that stuff, when it's one system of record, it allows you to do magic that you need AI for with most systems, but not with Nano.
Love that. Great answer. So it's funny because you brought up blockchain in your answer, and I'll never forget. It's probably been almost 10 years ago now. I went to a tech conference for mortgage in Kansas City, and they had at the time an industry expert in blockchain. Yeah. And from the front of the room, you had some title companies there. You had some real estate agents, mortgage loan officers, and this gentleman gets up from the front of the room and he's like, in 5 years, there won't even be title companies. Like it will be so sophisticated. Blockchain will be so great, and watch out, title companies, they're coming for you. I laugh because now we're 10 years later and we're no closer to eliminating title than ever. But I remember sitting in that room, that meeting, Jeff, and being like so nervous. Well, if they can replace title companies, like watch out, they can replace loan officers. And I think we've heard that buzzword in AI as well, that like eventually like it's going to replace all of our jobs. So help me feel better about not being replaced by AI.
2 anecdotes. 1, 1998, I'm a mortgage broker. And I get invited by my wholesale lender to come to drive 35 miles to their office and bring my manila folder with my loan, with my 1003. It's on this legal, sheet of paper. And we can input this loan application into this thing called Desktop Underwriter.
DU, baby.
DU. And we're going to get an approval on the spot. It's going to be amazing. So I take my file up there. I'm all excited. They type in the 1003 into DU on the web, and we get an approval. And the wholesale rep there says to me, dude, you got to be careful. Just so you know, like with this thing, they're not going to need loan officers anymore.
That was 1998.
Yeah. So that was 28 years ago, right? Well, we need loan officers. Fast forward 2006, we're starting Box Home Loans. It's kind of web-based, very automated thing that I was like, you know what? And I'm a loan officer, so, don't get offended. But I said, we're not going to need any traditional loan officers with this product anymore. Like, this is going to change the world. Well, here we are in 2025, and we need loan officers. In fact, the funny thing is, what we learned as a consumer direct is the cost of acquiring business in a non-refinance market, when relationships matter, is more expensive to acquire that business than to pay commissions to loan officers who leverage relationships and trust. And so, in fact, the more noise there is in marketing, the more people gravitate towards a relationship. And so I'm very bullish. I was totally wrong 19 years ago. And the guy, my wholesale rep, was wrong, that automation. So obviously I'm a big believer in automation. I'm also just a big believer in like the power of human connection and relationships. And like, that's not going anywhere. In fact, the more we dive in, the more we turn to AI and have all this automation, the more we kind of seek personal relationships. I have employees in their 20s who are like, enjoy going out to their mailbox to get mail. Because it's physical and it's real.
Whereas like we have to like remind ourselves to go out there, and it's just like piled up.
They want to touch something, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's this interesting thing happening where, we're going to leverage AI to its core capacity, but those that are going to succeed are also going to figure out, how do I leverage human connection, real human connection? And it's not one or the other, it's both.
Yeah, and then do exactly what Nano's doing, is free you up to be able to have more human interaction and connection.
We've always said it's not going to replace humans. It's just going to augment their ability to do a lot more. And let's outsource, not to India or to Vietnam or wherever. Let's outsource to machines what we can outsource to machines, so that the humans can do things that humans are really good at. Solve complex problems and help people feel warm and fuzzy.
Love that. So, Jeff, one question that I've got, we've heard about the digital mortgage experience, and I've had the luxury of kind of growing up, starting out in this industry of like, we had manila folders, and that was how we started and did loans. As far as like e-signing and those sorts of things, how long has Nano been able to facilitate that, and how close are we to a truly fully digital experience?
Closer than we have been. We started doing e-signature stuff at Box Home Loans in 2009, right? You would remember that Bill Clinton signed into law the whole e-sign stuff. That was, he stopped being president in January of 2001, right? E-closings have been a big part of what we do for a long time. I wish we could do more. A large portion of our closings are e-notes. We're one of the highest percentages of e-notes in the country for a lender. And Nano makes closing and e-note just this really trivial. Most people, a lot of lenders haven't gone there because it's a different process. And it's just harder they got a different vendor. And so Nano is just a toggle. It's an e-closing or it's a paper closing. So it makes the process easier. One challenge for fully closing is this idea of having a remote online notary. And that gets challenging in a purchase transaction when we haven't chosen the title company in many cases. and there's this escrow officer who's physical and in person, and there's this remote person doing it, and that just has created kind of a logistical complexity that's problematic. Refinances, easy. Ron's, great. Next time we have a refi boom, which may never come, then I look forward to doing more full
Crossing my
e-closings.
fingers.
But as far as the rest of the process, it's clearly, gone are the days when borrowers, bring in their pay stubs and W. It does happen, but we've been on that digital forefront since, with our Consumer Direct. From 2008 on, we were having borrowers upload things and trying to make that as paperless as possible. I hate walking past, even in our office, to see folders of loan packages that, that are closings where we couldn't do any closing for whatever reason. And so we're better than we have been. We have a ways to go as an industry. But I hope to never use a printer again.
Love that. So, Jeff, if I were a loan officer and I wanted to, come over to Canopy Mortgage, give me your best reasons why from simply a technology standpoint. And I say that with this little disclaimer, like so many people out there will say our tech is the best. And I have the luxury of talking with a lot of LOs that have their line in the water looking at different things, and they hear the same tired argument of like, we have the best tech. So I really
the same tech that everybody else has.
Exactly.
Right?
So,
we're just better at it.
So give me your 2-3 minutes on why would you come over from a tech standpoint, if that's truly what it was. Like, you're, all things being equal, you have great relationships with other individuals, but tech being the reason.
Tech is one of the pieces, right? There are many, right? For us, our model is attractive because our margins are great. We have a flat org structure. People like us. We tell the truth, right? That's probably more important. But tech is kind of that fourth wheel that's really valuable. We like to say that Nano doesn't do everything. We just do the things that matter most better. And so because the people our development team is led by me. I'm just a loan officer. It's where I grew up. It's how I still think. I've done every job in this industry about. I have closed loans. We used to close loans as brokers back in the day. Crazy, Underwritten. I processed. In 2020, when we were busy, I hopped in and started underwriting and processing loans in my spare time.
I want to know how many founders have done that.
It's kind of embarrassing
awesome
to admit that, actually. When but I just we needed help to get caught up, and so I was willing to do it. And frankly, it was really great to realize, to get in and use it and go, dang, we do some things really well, and ooh, that sucks, right? So it was good for me to also get back in there, get my fingers dirty. But I kind of fundamentally understand what every stakeholder, from the borrower to the loan officer to the underwriter, do in the process. And so because of that, we're able to develop stuff that matters most. We don't hear people say, like I say, other software, did a person who understood mortgages write this software? And because our development team is so close to fulfillment, we're able to iterate. We push code twice a week. We get instant feedback. We break things sometimes. We fix them. But we get instant feedback on doing stuff that matters most. It's not perfect, but it's pretty dang good. And the data from our independent surveys, every year we ask our users how they feel about Nano. And we asked a couple questions. Number one, would you go back to something else off the shelf? And 96% of the people who were last survey said no. Okay. And then we asked them to rank their Nano versus their former LOS, and it's not even close. So don't believe me. I'm kind of biased, but just believe our users. And it's just those people that use it understand, mortgage people are involved in architecting and crafting the software.
Love it. Well, thanks for taking time. There is one last little thing I want to highlight. So when we started, Jeff in my office one day said, "I see a day where you can do 50 loans." I thought he was crazy. I want you to know that he was crazy because he way underestimated what could be done. We have an LO who holds the record. He did 149 units in a single month. So not only did Jeff underestimate
and that person
it,
shared an LOA.
Shared an LOA. That's not this massive team of 5 different LOs. This is a single LO sharing the LOA with another person. And so what you've built, just want to applaud and say it's absolutely amazing. And just thank you. Thanks for being on the forefront of technology and making it easier to originate and complete a loan.
Thank you, Mac.